and this is Daybreak Live right here on Dominion Television. Thank you for tuning in.
Absolutely. Good morning to you this morning.
Really nice to be back here.
Yes, every day.
The morning routine has started. Yes, the people might be slowing down. It's Tuesday, let's slow down a little bit, but the headlines are not. So yesterday, the defense headquarters came out to say, look, yes, there was a coup against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And that puts to bed the rumors, puts to bed the confusions, and also puts to bed the fact that there was a denial in the first place. And definitely most Nigerians will now have to think twice when the federal government puts an information out there that, oh, this is not happening, they will ask questions. I'll take it back to what happened in Kaduna State when churchgoers were kidnapped, a number of them. And then the police came out to say, look, there was nothing like a kidnap, everything is normal. And days later, they came back to say, yes, we admit there was a kidnap, and we are tracking the kidnapped victims, we are tracking them, and of course we are tracking down the perpetrators. That brings two contexts. The federal government, when should we believe you when there's an information out there? It's a very big one. But yes, in a democratic setting, coups can be called an aberration. It should not happen, as long as there's a democratically elected government out there. And the big question is, how did it come to place in the first place? And are the military always forgetting what the responsibilities are when things like this do happen? Who were in the know when this was being planned? These are very big questions. We understand that it was eventually nipped in the bud. It did not happen. We saw what happened in Benin Republic. Even Nigeria, that was also having the same issue, had to intervene and step in Benin Republic. And so many other places where this would have happened if not because Nigeria played the big brother role. Now, in Nigeria as a country, about 300 million people has been speculated by some say 250 million, some will say over 200 million people. But what we know is that the population is between 200 million and 300 million people. We cannot afford to toy with the democracy we currently enjoy. Now, most people will say, oh, let the military take over. But then, were you there when the military ruled? Did you even have an experience what it looked like when, because when we talk about freedom, yes, you have the freedom. But they cannot guarantee your freedom after you have done what it is you want to do. So there's freedom of speech, but is there freedom after speech? It's a very big question. So people really do not know what it means to have that kind of information. Oh, the military is about to take over. For some of us who witnessed a little bit of that, we wouldn't want that to happen. Okay, but then what exactly is the way forward? That when there is a democracy, we will not get to have this kind of news. And also, how do we trust the government when there's an information out there?
I think the perspectives you've brought to light are very important perspectives. You know, for one, I think I was also in the know as to how the Kaduna incident began, and first because it was just about two sources brought it out, not the mainstream sources on the news channel, to say something happened about 170 at some point, 177 or 166. So there were claims about the number, but that's not important. What's important is the lives of the people that were at stake at the time. So Muhammad Rabiu, who of course is a CP, the Commissioner of Police in Kaduna State, came out to say that did not happen. And all of a sudden, maybe about less than 24 hours after, Inspector General of Police came out to say, yes, actually something happened. So my question first when I saw that was, what then happens to Muhammad Rabiu, the Commissioner of Police in Kaduna?
Who was on site and denied that there was
someone in Abuja had more information than
the sitting Commissioner of Police.
Exactly, the resident Commissioner of Police. And it calls for, so what, this is my problem. After the Inspector General of Police came out to say that, what then happened to Rabiu, to Muhammad Rabiu? Because there's something that needs to, you just swept it under the rug as if nothing happened. That misinformation would have led to those people cutting away with those people on foot, even into the deep of the forest. Because if you had said this happened, maybe military intervention would have come in. But you did not say it happened, you said you denied it. So you gave those people, perpetrators, time to get into the forest and settle down. Because according to information, those people were actually transported on foot. So some of them were just, the bikemen were just trying to guide them. It wasn't that they were on bike or they were inside a vehicle. They were transporting on foot, and you said nothing happened. So what happened to you after you said that is something we have still, I mean, there's a lot of petition that should go out for that particular issue. But yes, let's bring it back to the military now. Well, so one might say that they debunked the news at first because they were trying to ensure that there's no unrest,
investigate
and
how
then,
many
of course, investigation is still on the way.
Involved.
Absolutely. So all of that could be, but again, we are trusting the military process that the court martial they said will be served to these people would be something they will put on the table of discourse. Again, let me point out one issue that I also saw. I think we've had about 8 attempted coup or coups generally in Nigeria, and I think 5 of them were successful. Maybe this is the 9th, I can't tell. I think this was, okay, this is like the attempt. So this can be the 9th coup altogether, plus the attempted one and then the successful one. So 5 were successful. Let's say 3 or 4 were nipped in the bud, like you said. But this is what we say. What happened to people who, I don't like the fact that people who fail to accomplish the coup are the ones that get questioned, are the ones that get court-martialed. The people who successfully get it done don't get any court-martial. In fact, they can become a president again. And we've seen that in many African nations right now.
Even in Nigeria.
Exactly. So we've seen Muhammadu Buhari. He was a military head of state at some point. He became the president and nothing happened.
Some of them benefited from coups planned by some other people. Not like they were
actively involved. But whichever way, if you were part of a coup, whether actively, because I think one of the things that I'm giving it to this current military is because at the time there were a lot of people that were not even investigated. They were assassinated. Right. From reports that they just went and then they picked someone up and then they put him inside the prison and that's it. You don't hear anything about the press because the press. So you see all of that, but now investigation is ongoing and they were able to find out that, oh yes, there was a coup. We've named those people and we are going to court-martial them. I love that court-martial process, but I'm waiting for that thing to happen because according to you too, and according to the Constitution, it's a treasonable offense to attempt to overturn government,
a democratically elected government.
Exactly. So that's not. So Nigeria also is very important to in this conversation. Why? Because whatever we do in Nigeria becomes the narrative for the African state.
Becomes a model.
Yes, because Nigeria is so important in that sphere. Talk about ECOWAS, for example. Talk about the African Union. Nigeria is also a very consequential part of that. So whatever happens in Nigeria, if they fail to address this well, might be a narrative of positivity for some others to say, if it happened in Nigeria, it can happen here. We can do it again here. And Nigeria has been against coup plotters, coup attempts in
other countries.
I mean, we saw the recent one that we had to go to Benin Republic. The military had to help them quell the tension and bring back democratic rule, which is of course a good thing. But how can we not tackle this from our own side? But again, I think some persons, maybe for want of information or ignorance, are saying they don't mind the military coup in Nigeria. Have you heard that conversation?
Absolutely.
There's that school of thought that they don't mind. But like you also mentioned, maybe we need to ask people who were there during the 1966 coup and all of the coups we've had in the country. How did it play out? What was freedom like? What was freedom of expression, freedom of association, freedom of speech? What was it like then? And how can you compare it to now? The world is currently moving at a very fast rate. This is 2026. It's very important that we understand some things should not be, even if they have been before. That something happened before or that something is common in Africa does not make it right. So we have to come to a realization that, but let me just hit the point. This is what I'm trying to say. Whoever fails an attempted coup or whoever succeeds in an attempted coup should have the same measure. That is my proposition. So that we can, to any other person, any deterrent will want to say, I cannot do this because even if I fail or I win, I will still be in trouble.
Well, the problem is the moment there's a successful coup, automatically you put all infrastructures in place to make sure that you are untouchable after that. We have seen it happen in Nigeria. You say the promise is, oh, after a while, we know we are doing this because of bad governance, because the government has failed in its responsibilities. So after a few months or a few years, we are going to transition back to democratic rule. So it means that whoever is taking over will definitely look away because he has benefited from what they planned. That's why I said some benefit indirectly or not actively from what the coup plotters actually did. So in a country like Nigeria where it's easy for people to look away about things that are happening, they just turn blind eye like they are not saying anything. So it will happen. I mean, I don't think we have gotten to that stage. Nigeria as a country has not matured to that stage where whether you win or you lose, you still get punished if you do something wrong. So for me, I think that is it. And yesterday there was a list flying around about the coup plotters, actually. And there are names which were actually, they said, list of indicted officers: Brigadier General Musa Abubakar Sadiq from Nasarawa, 44th Regular Corps; Colonel M.A. Mahaji, Niger, 47th Regular Corps; Lieutenant Colonel S. Bapa Bauchi, 56th Regular Corps; Lieutenant Colonel Ehe Ayatu, Kaduna, 56th Regular Corps; Lieutenant Colonel Dangana, Plateau, 56th Regular Corps. Most of them, if you check the list, are from either the Core North or the North Central. And of all the list here, I don't know, maybe for some whose names were not clearly written, maybe they were acronyms or something, maybe they are from the South. But then what I know and I see here already, they are from the North or the Core North. Now, that brings in the permutation of who's going to be the president in 2027. Are some people trying to make sure that the president does not return to office? It's a very big question. Politically and according to the military arrangements, which just failed. So it means that people are willing to truncate this administration. You are not going past 4 years. In fact, some people don't want him to finish the 4 years. And where are the questions coming from? I think some of the policies currently being introduced by the current president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria might be a pain in the neck of so many people at this time. But eventually, some people will benefit. Someone posted something about the new tax reform yesterday and said, look, she was actually one of those who clamored for a review of the tax reform, that it was going to be something very hard for them as government workers. And yesterday said when she checked paying slip, and then she discovered, oh, she's actually paying less than she used to pay because of the tax bracket she belongs to. So someone like that will campaign for the president in the next election because it feels like, I think I've benefited from this. But how about people who are making serious money in Nigeria and not paying a dime to the coffers of the government? I mean, there are so many people like that who are making money from all ends, from all angles. But then, when you check how much they pay, in fact, you will be competing with them in terms of how much they pay to the government. Probably what they pay is just value-added tax and a few here and there, but the core tax that belongs to the government, because it is part of developmental arrangement. You pay tax and then the government provides some things for you. Yes, we all know that in recent times, Nigerians have not really benefited from what they will call dividends of democracy. And they are actually having this skepticism about paying tax. But then you have to do it first. Let's try it first. And then when that happens, we'll see where we go from there. But are there people who are not really happy with this arrangement? That's a very big question. But we'll get there. What's the reason why this was done? I think eventually it will get there. And the full list of people who were involved, with time, we will see it out there. But eventually, we'll get to a place where it will be clear for everyone to see why this actually happened in the first place.
Let me quickly make a claim before we round off this session. And the claim is this: if Nigeria gets to a point where it adopts a military coup, we are going to go back 10 years in time. This is 2026, and we're going to go back to 2016 in terms of development actually, yes, in Nigeria. Now, that's one of the things that we have to say about the coup plotters and why it should not happen again. There should be more or stricter rules against those people planning to do that.
Well, I think, the military should be made to understand what their roles are. And then once that is done, you don't have access to do this, you cannot do that. I mean, they should know that, and then all this will be put to rest.
Yeah.
Well, it's a convenient place to draw the curtains on that particular one. And then let's take what the report on this show.